Hello and welcome to Cyber Focus. My name is Joel Arnold. Our guest today is Audra Stevenson Drakes, and she is an adjunct faculty member and project manager at the Cave Hill School of Business at the University of the West Indies.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with a question directed at you personally. You have a background as a physicist and engineer.
That's right.
But you've spent the last several years working in HR.
That's correct.
How does one make that kind of job transition?
I think you follow the opportunities and you follow what you like. You follow what you think is your talent and your passion. I did study physics and math in university. That was my undergraduate degree, which I enjoyed very much and worked as an engineer. And then I moved from my native island of Trinidad and Tobago. I moved to Barbados, and the opportunities to practice engineering were not as abundant as they would have been in Trinidad. And so following opportunities, I ended up in the hotel industry and then eventually had opportunities to get into human resources, which I actually enjoy very, very much.
Now, you rose to the level of a director of human resources in a multinational hotel chain. That's a pretty big climb. How has, in your time doing that, how did the field change?
The field changed a lot. I think when human resources started out, if you remember, a lot of people would know it was called personnel management. It was all about files and maintaining records and so on. And the field eventually moved into being called human resources, which is how can you actually enhance and use the people who are the backbone of any firm, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's hospitality. How can you enhance that talent? How can you make the best of what is, in most companies' cases, the biggest investment that they have? And so the field has moved from just being more of records and ensuring that everything, all the laws and so on are falling into line, into more of developing human resources and into more strategic lining up with the business.
Sure. I was going to ask you the question, but I think you might have answered already. It seems as though the change has been from sort of a administrative task-oriented job to being more of a strategical or strategic partner in decision-making processes.
Yes. I think that is a change that is still going on, and it is a revolution that is still occurring. I think there are still quite a lot of human resources that operate in a silo and separate to where the business is going. But in order for human resources to make a difference, there has to be a link with what is going on. I think more and more human resource professionals are realizing they need to be aware of the financials, they must be able to read the P&L statements, and they need to link with what the firm's goal and mission is at the end of the day. So I think that is still a revolution that is happening globally, not just in Barbados, which is where I currently live.
Sure. There's also over the last decade or so, more of an emphasis on developing a culture within an organization.
Yes.
I assume that when it was sort of an administrative task, that cultural aspect of things wasn't really at top of mind, to say the least. How has the emphasis on developing culture changed the way that you did your job and how people will do it in the future?
Well, the culture needs to be linked, I think, directly to the end goals and the mission. And so it really and truly helps emphasize what HR programs you would utilize, you would fund, and so on. Different companies have different cultures. The firm that I worked for, lucky enough, the culture was that of put the employees first. Because if you can manage your best asset, which is your people and your talent, and you can create a culture where the employees feel that they are first, then they will ensure that they deliver the best service to the guests, and I think that can work in any firm.
As a director of human resources, you've obviously gone through hiring many people, I'm going to assume.
Yes.
What in a person's background do you think in today's job market correlates to them having success in the hospitality industry or just in any industry you become in contact with?
I think it is important to be able to identify the fit for the person and the job that they're applying for, as well as the industry and the culture. You talked about culture earlier. Every place does have a culture, and not everyone will fit into that culture. Not everyone will enjoy the culture. So understanding what that person's talent is, You can always train skills. You can always teach persons particular things, but you can't teach attitude, and you certainly can't teach particular talents. So I think being able to identify that the talent and the personality and the attitude is a good fit for the culture of your organization is going to definitely help you make the right recruiting choice.
I'm going to switch topics a little bit here. A recent PwC survey states that, and if I can quote it directly here, that global HR managers feel their biggest 3 challenges are change management, leadership development, and the measure of HR effectiveness. First of all, would you agree with that? And then secondly, could you give us a little bit more insight on each one of those?
I would definitely agree with that. I think particularly for change management, all businesses have gone through a change. There has been the global recession, which hopefully everybody is coming out of, and the world in general is going to come out of that pretty soon. But it has caused people to rethink the way they do business. And when you rethink the way you do business, that definitely affects the thinking of the organization and the way the human resources themselves would operate. That change is hard for everybody. People like to sit in the same seat. Wherever they go, they like to sit on the same side of the car. It's the same thing in business. So change management, I think, has definitely been something companies have focused on, and those that haven't focused on it are realizing that it is something that is important to their business in terms of the smoothness of moving forward. What was the second one?
Leadership development.
Yeah, leadership development, very important. I would like to actually say that in addition to leadership development, I think succession management linked to that, which again, a lot of companies don't take the time to invest in. And what you would find is that when you lose your star, you don't have anyone to replace that person. You haven't set that company up for success. So, leadership development, I think, to me, has a big link with succession management for continuity of the business. And the third one
was the measurement of HR effectiveness.
Yeah, I mean, more and more companies, as you asked about how human resources have changed, for a lot of companies, human resources changed in the way they thought about human resources. A lot of firms decided to get rid of their human resources and consult what they thought they needed. A lot of firms have come back to re-implementing human resources into the companies, but there is a lot more accountability placed on human resources. What is the added value to the company? Human resource programs cost a lot of money. You have training. If you are looking at change management, succession management, it is an investment. And if HR, human resources, is to be linked to the strategy and the end goal and the mission, then you do need to show that for every dollar you spend on human resources, for all of the time that you put in, that you can actually measure what you get out. And if it's done right, you can, and it adds a lot of value.
You've mentioned a couple of different reasons or ways in which HR is changed or will be changing coming out of the recession. Looking forward, do you see those changing, perhaps reverting back to the way we were before, or maybe HR taking on a different role into the future?
I think HR is taking on a different role. I think we're seen more so as business partners, which I think that's where we need to be. Not being seen in silos, not being seen as the soft side of the company, but being seen as a way to achieve company goals. And there are a lot of really good examples. I love the example of Southwest Airlines. Without their focus on human resources, thinking about all of the changes that they would have put in place, how that would have worked from a personnel point of view, etc., I don't think they would have been as successful. So that is the future of human resources, linking with the business, being a business partner right alongside the accounting and the operations. Sure.
And I imagine into the future another thing that is already prevalent now but will continue to perhaps increase in prevalence is the technological basis of the recruiting process.
That has grown significantly.
Yeah, I would imagine, do you see that continuing to play even a bigger role in things we hear about LinkedIn, Facebook, things like this?
Yes.
How much have you used that in the past? And
we have used it significantly in Barbados. I think perhaps a bit different to how you'd use it in the U.S. market. I mean, I know that there are some of my former colleagues from the hospitality industry, the company that I worked for, would have recruited by text. They would broadcast texts, we have this particular job open, etc. We haven't gone that route in Barbados. We have definitely used Facebook. We have definitely used LinkedIn. What I like about technology is that it has definitely opened up the market. And all of a sudden, from having newspaper advertisements which would only reach a narrow amount of people, you all of a sudden can reach the world. So that has really been great for us because it has opened up the talent pool, and we're able to reach them faster, and we're able to go further.
Well, I have just one last question, and I'm a student currently. What sort of skills or what sort of things do you think that someone in my position should focus on to make themselves more attractive to HR departments that I'm trying to get a job with?
I'd say understand what your talents are, know what you like, know what your passion is. It's easier to talk about that when it's natural. I like to think of myself as an example of that, understanding what my talents were, what I liked, what my passions were, led me through a meandering career of physicist, engineer, operational person in hospitality, human resources, and now faculty. I enjoyed all of them. I felt that I added value wherever I was. And I think if you can do that, if you can understand who you are, get in touch with your talent, and be passionate, that's the best advice I can give you.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Audra Stevenson Drakes, thank you very much for joining us today. And join us again on Cyber Focus. If you have comments or would like to propose a topic for the next session, please contact us at cyber@indiana.edu. Thanks again.